Hey, this is Warren Bird, Research Director at Leadership Network, talking with Ed Stetzer about a myth that just will not die, but maybe we can put it to rest today. Ed Stetzer, great to have you. I should say Dr. Ed Stetzer. I should actually say Dr. and Dr. Ed Stetzer. You are a double doctorate, the Executive Director of Lifeway Research, the Senior Fellow at the Billy Graham Center, and friend to Warren Bird. And we're going to do some serious myth busting.
We are going to do it. We are going to do it. And we should say Dr. Warren Bird, because I am one who's actually read your dissertation and knows, all right, now right here, that it's the application of free rider theory, the economic free rider theory to the megachurch. So who else has read your dissertation? That's the love I have for you. And my co-author, Warren Bird, on more than one occasion.
Yes, awesome. And Ed, Lifeway Research, September 1, put out a study, a major study that deals with this myth well, let me read you some of the myth that I picked up. According to statistics from Barna Research Focus on the Family and Fuller Seminary, not correct, almost 1,500 pastors leave their ministry positions each month due to spiritual burnout, moral failure, or issues in the church. Not true.
Gosh, not even close to being true. But we've heard that, and I mean, if that were to be true, I mean, imagine that that's 18,000 pastors leaving the ministry each year. Now, I think one of the reasons people kind of grab onto that is that part of it is that there's a sense that pastoral ministry is difficult. But the reality is when we look at the numbers, we just don't find that there's this huge. A common quote is, "Pastors are leaving the ministry in droves." And so what we did is we did a study of 1,500 senior pastors. Now again, let me give our full methodology. We studied evangelical and historically Black churches, okay, because there's commonality often theologically there. So we didn't study every single kind of church. And what we found is that for 10 years later, about 13% of senior pastors had left the pastorate for reasons other than death or retirement. And so what that boils down to is not by any means 1,500, but we're talking about a few hundred on an annual basis that would actually have left the ministry.
And in terms of percentage points, you found that was right around just over 1% per year of pastors who leave due to burnout or other troubles like that.
Yeah, and it could be, and of course we don't know what we're saying is other than death or retirement. So, and that's an average of about 250 a month. So, 1,500 a month is the article you cited, and which is most common. Some people have, I guess, rounded it up to 1,700. I hear that a lot. I hear 1,800 a lot. Now again, nobody knows for sure. Okay, these are estimates. But there's no real research. And I'd be interested, I mean, I know you're interviewing me, but you worked hard to track down this statistic, this 1,500 statistic that everyone cites and everyone points back to 2 or 3 different sources, none of whom have a research basis of it. But what did you find?
Well, according to a colleague in the Wesleyan denomination, he found that it was from Focus on the Family's pastoral hotline. So clergy in trouble, in distress, calling in, and a survey, informal at that, survey of them. Well, that group does not represent the whole of pastoral clergy. And in fact, my Wesleyan friend said, we did a study too. And they did 483 of their ministers over a 5-year period. And they found just about the same numbers that Lifeway found in terms of how many left the ministry for reasons other than death, retirement, or dismissal for moral or other reasons.
Yeah, you're right. And so when you look, informal surveys are what kill us here, because what happens is an informal survey, maybe they got, who knows what the number comes from, maybe they got 1,500 calls per month, I don't know, but that then becomes 1,500, departures from the ministry per month, and that gets rounded up over the years, and we see this all over the place. You cited at the beginning an article that's from a web page from the Francis Schaeffer Institute, Into Thy Word. Appears to be a good guy who loves pastors, but his research is cited all over. And for example, right under that stat on the webpage, it says 50% of pastors' marriages will end in divorce, which 50% of Americans' marriages don't end in divorce. The 50% of pastors are so discouraged they would leave the ministry if they could. Now you say these are, and we found nothing like that. Pastors feel privileged to be in the ministry. It's hard. They often feel overwhelmed. There are challenges. They feel like they're on call 24 hours a day. But what happens is you ask the question, well, where do these studies come from? Well, it's always sort of some generic, as you mentioned at the beginning, well, it's studies from Barna and Fuller and Focus on the Family. Well, what they did here, too, is they said that they did some studies at some conferences in Southern California. And they actually say this. They say we had 2 conferences, we did some research on these, and this is some of the numbers we came from that. Well, I don't know what those conferences were, but maybe they were pastors trying to save their marriage conferences. I don't know. But by no means do such, and again, what they write is out of the 1,050 pastors we surveyed during 2 pastors' conferences held in Pasadena, and they said that 78% said they were forced to resign from a church at least once. 63% said they've been fired. Maybe they laid out categories, and then they go into some of these things that some really, I mean, I'm looking here, some really stunning and sad statistics that now, I mean, if our viewers were just to Google 50% of pastors' marriages end in divorce, it's without any of those caveats, it's without any of that research, it's without any foundation other than maybe there was a group in California that was the case for them, or maybe that's an observation, yet that's seen as fact. It's hard to do this research. As you saw, our methodology is very detailed, and people could see that at lifewayresearch.com. But I think we got to get to the picture here that pastoral ministry is tough. I'd say I'm pastoring now. I'm not sure if you're pastoring now, but you've been a pastor. And so we both know this is hard work, but it demoralizes people when you make up or disseminate statistics that just aren't true.
Even though it preaches well. So just a second on the marriage thing, you wrote the foreword to a book by Bradley Wright, that way goes into detail about the marriage thing. But back to the clergy are leaving in droves, which they're not. This is one of many myths that you have tried to bust over the year. You and I have written articles. You've published one that I nicknamed "Everything is Terrible," that article. And then Christian Smith wrote one on evangelicals behaving badly with statistics. So there are a lot of examples out there, but let's come and land this pastoral thing that Lifeway has finally set right. The Wesleyans and others have come up with it. The damage that does is it gives churches the perception we're not doing caring for our pastors, and we're not watching out, and in reality they're doing a lot of things well. And you and I are actually recording this during Pastor Appreciation Month, and that's one of the many things that churches do well to encourage and support their pastors, and they are not leaving in droves.
Yeah. I mean, again, we just don't see the numbers that are there. Now, of course, what you're going to find is, Warren, we've seen this before. People get mad at you when you undermine their narrative. There are a lot of ministries, and we're thankful for the ministries and their passion. There are a lot of ministries who have built their ministry on the idea that pastors hate the ministry and they're all leaving, and they're sort of maybe a way to help them. And so we're thankful for you. Don't misunderstand. If you're doing that, we're thankful for you. But
I agree.
Yeah. And so again, and that's what a lot, even the Francis Schaeffer Institute, and even Into Thy Word and Focus on the Family. We love Focus on the Family. I mean, we do research with them all the time. And so what this points to is people care, but part of caring is being accurate, because facts are our friends. Now, there are real issues. So let's minister to pastors. Let me share some stats, right? 84% of pastors say they're on call 24 hours a day. 80% expect conflict in their church. 54% find the role of pastor frequently overwhelming. 53% are concerned about their family's financial security. 48% often feel the demands of ministry are more than they can handle. And 21% say the church has unrealistic expectations of them. By the way, that means that the vast majority don't feel the church has unrealistic expectations. But I mean, I'm one who believes, I love pastors. My ministry is to pastors. You with Leadership Network are key in engaging pastors and church leaders. So we love pastors. We love them enough to do research that says what's real and what's true, but also to recognize that there are challenges. We want ministries to serve and minister with pastors, but we also want to do it from a factual basis. The reality is, the numbers, people say, well, the vast majority of pastors say pastoring is killing their family. That's just not the case. I mean, it's hard sometimes, it's challenging, but at the same time, most pastors exhibit a privilege, and they're engaging in pastoral ministry from a sense of a high calling.
Yeah. So tell us the link that people can find the Lifeway report that came out September 1, 2015?
Yeah, probably it's easiest if they just go to lifewayresearch.com, or if they'd like, they could just Google Lifeway Research Pastor Protection Study, and that should show right up. And there's others as well. And what we'll do is when this video is posted, of course, people will watch it after it's posted, but I'll link to the Christianity Today blog that I do as well. And I'm going to produce a full article on some of these stats and embed this video. So we'll be cross-linking there. So if they just want to Google maybe Ed Stetzer pastor statistics, they'd see several. For example, I wrote one article called "Pastor, that divorce statistic you're quoting is probably wrong, because practicing Christians and non-Christians don't divorce at the same rate." And we could go on and on and on. My favorite debunked study is the one put out in a Christian magazine that said that youth groups are killing youth ministry, based on a survey done at a ministry opposed to youth groups. And it's on their webpage. So you get to go there and say youth groups are bad at the website, youthgroupsarbad.com. And it's like 98% thinks youth groups are bad. This is not the kind of research. We need to be people of higher integrity than promoting that kind of research.
Ed Stetzer, it's kind of hard to tell your opinion on different things. Wish you weren't so wishy-washy. But thank you for your ongoing work, and you and I will keep partnering together to do all the myth busting that we can to so that people have accurate, helpful, healthy perspectives in going forward. Delight to work with you, brother.
Thank you, my friend. Thanks for having me, and look forward to continuing to collaborate with Leadership Network.